While there were lots of reasons flung around in the early 2000s as to why the PS2 was better than the Gamecube, there was really only one that sealed its fate and ensured that it lost the gaming battle between Sony and Nintendo. With the N64 being defeated by the newcomer seemingly before it even released, it was imperative that Nintendo started to reclaim their market dominance. But despite the Nintendo 64's biggest flaw being its restrictive storage medium, Nintendo continued to make the same mistakes again when designing the Gamecube. You see, with Sony coming out the gates running with its new PS2 featuring large capacity DVD discs, allowing for massive worlds, large intricate textures and high quality full motion video, Nintendo, on the other hand, seemingly didn't learn from its mistakes with the 64 and crippled the Gamecube with its GC-ROM discs. Sadly, the poor console never even stood a chance. Initially chosen to prevent piracy, reduce manufacturing costs compared to cartridges, and avoid paying licensing fees to the DVD forum, Nintendo designed their own proprietary version of the mini DVD. Being only 8 cm in diameter, these discs could only hold a maximum of 1.4 GB versus the PS2's full-size DVDs holding up to 4.7. And while this was all well and good for Nintendo, as they were happy to tailor their software to these limitations, it forced all of the third-party developers who were planning to bring their games to both the PS2 and the GameCube to either make sure that both of their games were small enough to fit on the Cube's discs so that there wasn't a perceivable difference between the versions, or make the GameCube's version technically inferior despite the purple lunchbox being more powerful than the PS2. What ended up happening was, even though the initial third-party support was promised by developers, increased development difficulties and the lack of console sales made sure that most developers cancelled or didn't even consider the GameCube as a viable platform for their games. And while being the more powerful console for gamers, developers still chose the infinitely harder to develop for PS2 over the GameCube simply because there was already a user base that owned the platform and they were willing to purchase their games. Now, looking at Nintendo today, they're still exactly the same. Their consoles use proprietary storage mediums, they're underpowered compared to their competition, and while they've made big strides in the right direction, they still really haven't got the same level of friendship that they had with the third-party developers as the likes of Sony now have. However, this isn't such a bad thing anymore. You see, Nintendo's, the masters of fun, like to include something new and exciting with every console they release. Something that sets them apart from the competition. For example, the Wii had its motion controls, appealing itself to the casual market. The Wii U had its gamepad, allowing for completely new types of play not possible with just a standard controller. And the Switch. Well, the Switch takes everything that makes a Nintendo home console great and allows you to bring it on the road. And while Nintendo still suffers with the same problems it always has done, it negates those problems by bringing a level of its own Nintendo-y charm to the systems, and makes sure that even if you own one of their previous consoles, or a PlayStation, or an Xbox, or a PC, that you still have a reason to buy their offering too. And this is what ended up being the GameCube's problem. It had all of the struggles that a Nintendo console had without any of the Nintendo magic that usually helped them get by. If maybe it had a special Nintendo-y gimmick, then it may have done better. And this is by no means to say that the GameCube was a bad console, but unless you were a die-hard Nintendo fan desperate to play the next generation of Zelda or Mario, there really wasn't a reason for you to pick one of these up unless you found one on a stupidly cheap sale or something. The Nintendo GameCube is one of my favourite consoles of all time. Its charm and character, an amazing list of first-party exclusives, and one of the most comfortable controllers of all time, by the way, helps get it to the top of my list. But from what we've looked at today, there's a very clear reason as to why it sold so poorly and why there's an ever-growing cult following for it today. We can clearly see all of its flaws, but I'd really love to know what you think. Let me know in the comments down below, what did you think of the Nintendo GameCube? Did you have one while you were growing up? Did you get one recently? Have you never experienced one? And just let me know what you think. I have one, I love it, and it's great. But that's it for today, folks. If you like this video, please subscribe for future videos, smash that like button, and for all things retro gaming, keep it locked to the channel that talks about when games were fun. Bye bye.